that they are not alone in this. Postpartum depression is absolutely normal.
I have gone through a long stretch of postpartum depression.
Hello. So I'm going to answer some of your queries about postnatal depression. Let us look at how can a mother or her family members identify the symptoms of postnatal depression. It's important to remember that postnatal depression usually tends to start showing about 4 to 6 weeks after delivery. Immediate after delivery, the first 2 weeks is chaotic. It's quite draining for the mother. There have been a huge change in her body. So in the immediate first 2 weeks, it's many women feel overwhelmed, and that is not the time to be thinking that it's postnatal depression. About 4 to 6 weeks after delivery, when everything seems to have fallen into a rhythm, at that point, around that point, or even afterwards, is when if postnatal depression is going to occur, that is around the time when it starts, it's likely to occur. Having said that, there are many women who stay vulnerable within the first 2 years after delivery. So some women can start showing symptoms much later, also in 6 months, 7 months after delivery. The thing to keep in mind, the symptoms to keep in mind, is one of the things to look out for is sleep. Now, normally when you have a small baby, sleep is going to be definitely affected. But what changes if you have depression is that the quality of the sleep, even if you slept for a few hours, you don't feel refreshed. When there is no work required, no one is waking you up, and absolutely there is no disturbance. Even then, if you're not able to fall asleep, you feel tired all the time and feel like you're not able to rest and recover, then that is something that could indicate that this is something more than just the normal sleep disturbance of motherhood. Also, not finding any joy in any activity, not being able to do things that were usually pleasurable before. Even things like playing with the baby, or just your own things, listening to music, just not being able to find pleasure in anything is another sign of depression. Women who are breastfeeding often are very, very hungry. But if depression is setting in, then their appetite is going down even if they are breastfeeding. And as the appetite goes down, their ability to make milk also starts going down. And that further starts impacting on their self esteem and how they feel about themselves. Another symptom is not feeling motivated to do anything. There's a whole lot of things to be done, but there's just no motivation, energy. Not being able to solve the problems that usually you would be able to solve, because there are so many decisions to be made as the day goes on. One of the biggest problems with postnatal depression, though, is that women find it hard to express it, because around her, everyone is excited about the baby, everyone is sort of enjoying this new phase, but she is not able to enjoy, and also she may not be able to share it. She may feel guilty that she's feeling sad, she's not feeling this connection with the baby when everyone else seems to be. So that sets in along with the depression, this guilt, this feeling that, oh my god, this is how it's always going to be. Is it always going to feel this bad? Is it always going to be this hard? So those signs are some of the symptoms of postnatal depression, this not being able to enjoy this phase in her life. So the key thing to think of is, when should you seek help of a psychologist or a specialist? And there is such a huge stigma in the woman itself, in the mother itself, that if I can't say something, people are going to judge me. What happens though is, if she continues to be depressed, is that starts affecting her interaction with the baby, and that actually has a negative impact on the baby. And then the woman then tends to judge herself. Look at me, because of me, because I'm like this, my baby is also unhappy. So that's like being stuck in that cycle where she's not able to get herself out, and then start judging herself because she thinks it's her fault for being like this. That is something that's really important, to start thinking that maybe an external person can help her break out of this cycle. Not being able to share it openly with the family members, but there is a benefit of seeing someone neutral, someone who is experienced and a professional, can help in breaking out of this cycle and recognizing and helping her to recognize that there are many women, actually so many more women who have thoughts like this, who feel inadequate when they're faced with motherhood. So, the benefit of seeing a psychologist is to first help her recognize that she's not the cause of the problem, that by talking and sharing and figuring out how she's actually stuck in this cycle can help her overcome it. There is a small percentage of women who may, if they get really severely depressed, where their physical health is getting affected, where they're starting to have thoughts of ending their life, they may need medication as well. But it's a small percentage. Most women do really well with seeing a psychologist or a counselor and having about 12 to 15 sessions of therapy. If they need medication, even the medication is not something that they need lifelong. Usually a short course of about 6 months to 12 months course of antidepressants is something that can really help them in overcoming this phase. Also, the medications that are now available are safe for breastfeeding, so they need not stop breastfeeding their baby if they are prescribed medication. One thing to think about is that although postnatal depression is not life-threatening in itself, depression causes a lot of slowness in the body. It slows down the ability to think, and it does cause physical changes. But what can happen is this inability to talk about it. This thing that what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? Is this my fault? That inability to talk can make the woman, start suffering inside and can lead to suicidal thoughts and can actually lead to suicide. And that is what would cause it to be life threatening. You need to be really, really careful. There are many stories of women who feel that way, who come close to the edge because they're not able to overcome this phase. So, in that case, it's really important to think of getting help in a timely manner.
Hi, my name is Megha Khanduja. I'm based out of Delhi and I'm the founder of Mothering Mothers. I am a childbirth educator. I think in this video, what we're going to talk about is what is the role of family and spouse during the postpartum period. So this is how I would like to begin, that women experience a range of psychological stressors in the postpartum period. And research has indicated that social support is a major cushion of postpartum depression. We often notice that mothers across the globe have similar support needs and challenges postpartum, such that most women will identify household chores and getting sleep as the major challenge during the postpartum period. Other challenges can be caring for other children and work-related stress. Also, you will hear mothers mentioning physical symptoms such as post-delivery C-section pain or breastfeeding discomfort as obstacles to their postpartum recovery. And I think the lack of the instrumental support to help with these basic needs is seen as the cause for depressive symptoms. Now, most women will identify partners and family members as major provider of support, and they also identify that support from partners and family should be provided without being asked. So women look for emotional support as being able to talk to somebody about what they are going through, receiving words of encouragement and pampering. But the reality is that while some mothers are able to find ways to actively organize this support, barriers do exist that prevent others from receiving the support they need or they want. So how can partners and the immediate family members help a woman who is suffering from postpartum depression? So my first point is going to be reassure her. This is not her fault. She is not alone and she will get better. That's the kind of communication you should be using with her. Encourage her to talk about her feelings and listen without judgment. Very critical. Just hear her out. Let her vent out her feelings in front of you. Help with household work even before she asks will go a long way. right? Encourage her to take time for herself. That me time is very important, right? Don't expect her to be a super housewife just because she's home all day, and this can happen just unconsciously. But do keep this in mind, that not to expect her to be doing everything with that little baby just because she is on a maternity leave or she is a stay at home mom. Be realistic about what time you will be home. Very important. So that way she knows that, okay, my husband will be coming home at this hour, and after this time he's there to take care of the baby, and I can get some me time for myself. Work together to find a babysitter. Very critical task. I think this should actually be done before the baby is delivered. But if you still haven't, it's still not late. Work together to find a good babysitter. And one last thing which is very critical here is that be patient if she's not up for sex. It's normal for her to have a low sex drive with depression, and I think rest and recovery will definitely help her to come back. So these are some of the pointers which I thought or which I consider that a partner or this woman's immediate family can take into consideration. This is how I would like to answer this question. The birth of a baby can trigger a jumble of powerful emotions. And most new moms experience postpartum baby blues after childbirth, which commonly includes mood swings, crying spells, anxiety, difficulty sleeping. Now, these baby blues typically begin within the first 2 to 3 days after delivery and may last for up to 2 weeks. But some new mothers experience a more severe, long lasting form of depression known as postpartum depression. So I just want to say that postpartum depression isn't a character flaw or a weakness. Sometimes it's simply a complication of giving birth, and you really can't categorize any one particular mother or any one particular woman for a risk of postpartum depression. It's an emotional trigger, and it can happen to any mother for that matter. And that's the reason why it's very important that we treat women who are suffering from postpartum depression with utmost care, and we take special consideration for their condition. According to one study that was published in 2012, it found that complicated labor resulting in an emergency procedure has been identified as a potential risk factor for postpartum depression in some studies, but there are conflicting results showing no association with the mode of delivery and the risk of postpartum depression. The key message, however, here is that cesarean section does not seem to have a direct impact on postpartum depression. However, women delivering in an emergency setting via emergency cesarean section or a vacuum extraction assisted delivery often report a negative delivery experience, which indirectly can lead to an increased risk of postpartum depression.
Namaste everyone. My name is Tanya. I am a yoga practitioner and founder of Tattva Turiya, a yoga school that is based in Vasant Kunj, New Delhi. Trained in different styles of yoga like Hatha Yoga, Ashtanga Vinyasa, Iyengar Yoga, prenatal, postnatal yoga, pranayam, my practices are rooted in yoga philosophy that help to develop strength, mobility, balance, and flexibility in the body. As per the ancient yogic text, it is said that yoga is not just a physical practice, it's a sanskar or a discipline. In Sanskrit, sanskar means sam, which is beautiful or perfect, and akar means to shape. So yoga truly prepares a human body to take on the next phase or activity in his or her life. So when yoga is introduced in a woman's life, when she is ready to bring on new life, it truly helps her to prepare better for this new phase of her life. Because what yoga really does, it nudges you into a place of quiet observation wherein you feel safe to explore your innermost concerns, your anxiety, your emotions. It truly connects you to your breath. And once you are connected to your breath, there is a free flow of life, free flow of emotions. So, yes, through subtle body movements, deep breathing techniques, and that innermost stillness that yoga offers, there is a fair chance that a woman who practices yoga will not experience postpartum depression. Now, I'm going to demonstrate two asanas and a breathing technique that you can practice whenever you feel anxious. The first asana will help us to release any tensions that we hold on to the upper extremities of the body, and the other asana will help us to release any tensions on the lower extremities of the body. And the pranayam practice will help us to find the balance and calm our mind. So the first asana is called the Papi asana or Uttan Shishu asana. For this asana, come on all fours, your wrists stacked onto your shoulders and your knees stacked onto your hips. Now, without moving your knees, gently walk your hands forward and drop your forearms, your chest, and your chin on the mat and look straight ahead and hold this posture for a couple of breaths. This posture really helps to release any tension from your shoulder, from your upper back, from your spine. Whenever you're ready, slowly walk your hands back and release. The other asana is called the Supta Baddha Konasana or the reclined bound angle pose. For this pose, just lie down on the mat on your back, bend your knees, hands by the side of the body, recline the right leg to the right side and the left leg to the left side, feet joined at the soles. Place your one hand on your heart center and the other hand on your abdomen and gently close your eyes. And just tune into your breath. Relax your mind. Bring your awareness back to your breathing. These two asanas really help to release any tensions, to find your center whenever you feel scattered. You can practice these asanas and there is no restriction of the timing. You can do it anytime during the day. Now whenever you are ready, release your hands. Place them on your outer thigh. Close your knees. Hug your knees. Hold here for a couple of breaths if you feel like doing so. You can rock side to side to release any tensions from your spine. And then whenever you're ready, release your hands, release your legs. Turn to one side, press your palms and come up. Now you can sit in any comfortable meditative posture to practice the next pranayam, which is called the alternate nostril breathing or Anulom Vilom breathing. We always start this practice with the left nostril, wherein we inhale from the left nostril and exhale from the right nostril. So close your right nostril with the right thumb. Inhale from the left nostril. Close your left nostril and now exhale from the right nostril. Now inhale from the right nostril and exhale from the left nostril. Continue inhaling and exhaling. This completes one cycle of Anulom Vilom. You can practice this for 10 to 15 cycles at one time, then take a break and then continue your practice. And you can do this for at least 10 minutes. Both these asanas and pranayam you should try whenever you feel depressed, sad, a bit scattered, anxious. They really help to find your center and calm your mind. through this beautiful platform of Voice of Women, I want to reach out to all the mothers and share this message that they are not alone in this. Postpartum depression is absolutely normal, and there is nothing in this life that cannot be fixed as long as you have a breath. So, all you need to do is to trust yourself, reach out to the people who care, talk about it, seek counseling, introduce traditional and spiritual practices like yoga and pranayama into your life, and heal your life one breath at a time. Thank you. Namaste.
One of the things we have to also remember is that if you think about this phase, this postnatal phase, it is after delivery of for the mother. It's a phase that is after postnatal, but it's actually the starting phase of the baby's life. And what happens in these early months, even when the baby is in the mother's womb, that sets the tone for the rest of the baby's life. So if there are some risk factors established, the mother is stressed, that establishes some risk to the baby. The baby's ability to attach, the baby's ability to connect with the mother is affected. That actually affect how the baby connects with other people in its life, how it starts reaching out, how it, when the baby cries, how it gets soothed. All that slowly sets a tone for everything else that is to come in life. And by intervening in this time, by helping the mother, by helping the father, by helping all the other people who are involved in the baby's life, in making sure that they are emotionally and mentally healthy and in a space to provide the best possible care to the baby, they set a kind of a strength-based system for the baby. And that baby then has lesser chance of developing emotional difficulties in the future. So if one thing you have to remember is that if we pay attention to the mother's emotional health, we are actually benefiting the child's current and future emotional health, and which has a ripple effect on the rest of the family as well. Thank you.
Through Voice of Women, my message to everybody here is that we know how postpartum depression feels. I have gone through a long stretch of postpartum depression. We know this feels like it's way too much to ever be able to overcome. But trust you me, you will. Moms, if you have a disturbing thought, it's okay. It's okay, verbalize it to somebody. It's when moms have these thoughts and they don't verbalize it, that's when it can manifest in cycles. If not, it can build one top of each other like a snowball. So seek professional help, or at least talk to a close confidant and be able to share of your feelings. You are a great woman, you are a very strong mom, and we are really proud of you for recognizing that you deserve better. Thank you.